So we should be going live. Alright, welcome everyone. Welcome to this discussion with me, Andres Restart, and Brandon from What About Nintendo. How you doing, man?
Doing great. A lot of stuff to talk about this
A
week,
lot of stuff.
It's just it came up all at the last second. A lot of it too.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is that I'm not used to having so many games to play, so much to talk about, and then actually talking about it on the internet. You know, and making videos about it. There's just so much to do and say. It's kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. So I don't even know where to start. So I guess we should just talk about what we've been doing this week, I guess, right? So I've been playing still Mario Odyssey. I have about 750 moons now. So I've been killing it, I guess, right? I've been really pushing that. But I've also been playing, still been playing Call of Duty World War II. I've also been playing Metal Gear 5. So yeah, I've been pretty busy between those three games, playing a lot of that, and it's been good. It's been fun. Yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of what I've been playing this week. I do have to say that the cutscenes in Metal Gear kind of annoy me. Like, they're good cutscenes. The problem is that they're really long, though. They're really long. Like, to even start the game, it takes like 15 minutes. Like, that's annoying. You know, when you look at comparison to Mario Odyssey, you just kind of, it's faster. It's a lot faster. Cutscenes are, and you can skip them. You know, so it's just kind of like, I don't know. I understand Metal Gear is more of like, you know, Kojima. He wanted like it's a big narrative, you know. He put a lot of work into the narrative. Like it is all about like his vision and such. I understand that, and I appreciate it, but I still wish I could have skipped the cutscenes. Or like, there's even some you can skip some cutscenes, but there's some situations where, let's say you go through a cutscene and then you literally go kill yourself like a moment later. You have to go through the cutscene again, and yeah. I don't think it happens every time, but it happened earlier for me. Like, there's like there's the prologue, and then there's chapter 1, and then you go to your base, right? It's like a hub world for Metal Gear, and like there's this huge cutscene in a helicopter with one of your friends, and you're talking to him the entire time. Then you get to the base, and you're still talking to him, and then they cart him off, and then you're just like, okay, I can run around now. So what do? I jumped into the water. And I died. I thought I would die, but I just wanted to see if I could die, right? And I died, and then I actually had to start that whole like cutscene from the chopper, and then landing back on. I was like, oh my god, this is hell. So you know, I like the game. Don't get me wrong; it's a great game so far. It's just kind of like, what the hell? Why? This is a game, not a movie. You know. Yeah. So even then, kind of movies you can skip forward unless you're at the cinema.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever, just kind of a little gripe there. But overall, I've been enjoying Metal Gear, but I've been playing mainly Mario Odyssey and some Call of Duty Zombies, pretty much. And it's been good. I'm actually going to stream Call of Duty Zombies tomorrow, World War II Nazi Zombies. I'm going to try and beat the Easter egg tomorrow night. So, hopefully you guys are into that. Maybe you aren't. We'll find out. So, yeah. Anyways, what's up, Link Triforce? What's up, Tatsumi Kimishima? How you guys doing? Brand Flakes? Oh, that's his. That's
that's my nickname for some reason.
The president of Nintendo has that he calls you Brand Flakes.
Yeah, apparently I'm just cereal to him.
Okay, well, all right.
But I, for one, have not been playing a lot of Mario Odyssey, unfortunately. Even though that's what I've been wanting to do, I've been doing a lot of other things. Some personal, some for my gaming channel. I actually made a gaming video today. I recorded it. I won't say what it is because it's kind of a surprise. And I edited it today instead of doing a live stream. Still got my news videos out, been doing those consistently. But it's been a lot of work and personal stuff and not a lot of video games, unfortunately. At least not Mario Odyssey. But
yeah,
I did stream it like 3 times last week. And I am on what I assume is the final kingdom or the second to final kingdom. I don't know. But it's awesome. I really enjoy the later kingdoms that I've been going to. They're a lot different than I thought they would be. And they have a lot different feel than I thought they would. Because they're not like most kingdoms. in Mario games, like the Bowser's Castle Kingdom. Like that's
Right.
What
So
is that?
you already got to Bowser's Castle then?
Yeah, I'm in the kingdom after that. I don't know if I should say it for spoilers or whatever, but I assume most people know what it is.
Most people know what it is, but let's
Yeah.
let's maybe wait until next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some really cool moments. There's a lot of they're pretty unique, and it's interesting because like when Galaxy came out, I was kind of thinking, oh, where could they go from here, So, but in a way, now it's kind of like, oh, all you have to do is go back to the planet. You go back to Earth, right, or whatever this kingdom is. And it was interesting that I was thinking about it, right? Like, to add DLC, all they have to do is add more kingdoms, right? So,
Yeah.
Isle Delfino could be a kingdom, right? That could be a kingdom right
That'd be
there.
dope.
In fact, that could be multiple kingdoms if they won't do that, but I'm just theoretically speaking, you could. There could be a mansion kingdom, which is like Luigi's Mansion kind of kingdom,
Oh my god,
or-
that'd be amazing.
I mean, although in my head canon for that is that that's all still within the Mushroom Kingdom, But there could be like a Donkey Kong Island kingdom, like legitimately Donkey Kong Island could straight up be a kingdom,
That would be awesome.
And in fact, there have always been theories that Zelda and Mario might be in the same world, but they're just different continents. So what if there was a Hyrule Kingdom? I don't think they would go so far to create a
I don't
Hyrule
think
Kingdom,
so.
but theoretically
Unfortunately.
speaking,
If they did, that'd be awesome.
theoretically,
I'd be down.
like what if they could even put like maybe an Easter egg or something, like maybe you just see a piece of the map and you see that's kind of what they did with Isle Delfino. Then people will be begging for DLC for that because now we're begging for DLC for Isle Delfino. But anyways, you get the
Right?
point. Like the way they handle Mario Odyssey now, it's easily expandable. And I mean, like basically, the entire roadmap goes like from one side of the Earth to the other, but it's one straight line through. They don't really go too far up or down, not that much. So there's a lot of Earth there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
there's still plenty of exploration that could be done theoretically if they wanted to expand the game through a sequel or what have you. So it's cool. But anyways, I'm just gonna ask a question that Todd's being asked. I don't know very little about the Telltale games. I actually Googled it when I saw your question while Brandon was explaining, his early playthrough of Mario Odyssey. I don't know much about Telltale games. You guys have asked me about this before. I've never really gone into it. I'll be frank though, just like looking at this page here, the images I'm seeing for Telltale games, they kind of look like phone games or like adaptations of like different like series. I don't know how good they are.
Pretty much they take popular series and they make like a very story-driven narrative to them in their own setting.
Okay.
So they don't really ever make anything on their own IPs. They just take other people's popular IPs and make like a story out of them. They're kind of like interactive movies in a way because most of what you're doing is choosing what's happening. There is some there's some gameplay, but it's a lot less than what we'd see in like just a normal game.
Yeah.
So it's mostly about the story and the choices that you make and how they impact it. So I mean, they're really cool if you like stories, and it kind of fleshes out some lore and different things in the series they're in. So they're pretty good.
Right. Well,
But
I don't know if
on
I'll.
phones. They're on phones and consoles. So.
Well, that's the thing. Phone games, I hate them. I don't hate them, but I hate them. I'm against. I just
They're really good story-driven.
Well, that's the thing. I was just talking about Metal Gear, and Metal Gear is very story-driven, and there's just something about that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm not willing to give those games a chance. I'm just saying that the story-driven concept is not something that excites me about a game, because that's why I watch movies. That's why I watch anime. That's why I rarely read books. I used to read more books more often, but
I used to read books all the time.
Yeah.
I just don't have time anymore.
yeah. But actually, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but they're more informational. But sometimes there's a bit of a narrative. But anyway, the point is, when I play games, I do like a story. It depends how it's told. I don't want it like an hour of story and then 10 minutes of gameplay. Maybe like small spurts, but like over 95% gameplay, you know, or 98% gameplay, 99%. But yeah, so But going back to the whole Kingdoms thing, because Tatsumi was talking about how you wouldn't like it if they were to actually expand to different franchises within Mario Odyssey. I agree with you, but I do see room for, say, like expanding to, for example, maybe like a Yoshi's Island, right, or a Donkey Kong Island. Those are characters that are a part of the Mario world, right? So a Yoshi's Island Kingdom and a Donkey Kong Island Kingdom, those could potentially be an Odyssey, and I don't think that would be a big deal. Same thing with Isle Delfino. It's literally another Mario game, right? Maybe they could do something with Mario RPG as well. You know, have some sort of reference with Geno and such for Mario RPG.
They made a Paper Mario world.
Though that's also an option.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Right, and I think there's a couple like Mario and Luigi RPG games that actually make a distinction between Paper Mario and normal Mario. So like the idea that they're two different characters, that could be a whole other kingdom. That could be, you know, what, right? And there's a few different options in terms of creating Mario kingdoms that are actually Mario. So and of course they could just try to come up with cool kingdoms that have nothing to do with any preconceived characters. You know,
they could do a Mario Sports Kingdom. They could totally do a Mario Sports Kingdom. Have more mini games as well.
It could be like like the way I would see it would be kind of like a Mario Sports sort of like kind of like an Olympic island, you know, like an Olympic island, something like that, where they just have different sports going on, and it could be a compilation of different like sport mini games, maybe. Yeah,
people really seem to like those mini games. Like the jump rope one and the
they don't like it.
One, so.
I like it.
No, they do like it. That's what I same people do like it. So if they had more, that'd be really cool. If they had like a whole world based on those, and of course they'd have other.
Have you found the snowman one? The snowman race? I don't know what they're called. There's a species.
No.
You haven't found any races yet? No, you had to.
I found the one race. That's the story. The one that you just get in the Ice Kingdom, just the normal one for going through the story section. I got that one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the only one.
Okay, I don't want to spoil anything for you then. But yeah, there's that. You know, so there's a lot of Okay, actually, I'm gonna spoil it for you. You can find a little bit more to do with different mini games. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, so they could totally do stuff like that. Actually, you know, Kimishima just said he kind of agrees, like, something like Isle Delfino or Donkey Kong, okay, but not, like, completely different franchises like Zelda or Metroid.
I want Zelda or Metroid.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But, Zelda's a little bit like, I don't know about that.
It's cool in a way, but it's not practical at all.
Yeah.
Right?
It kind of
like,
breaks all
if they were to create a Zelda Kingdom, there's no way in hell that it would make sense. Well, I mean, maybe it makes sense, but the problem is that it wouldn't be big; it'd be small. So then you'd be like, "Oh, well, what the hell?" And then also, if it's a Zelda Kingdom, then you're not even using Link; you're Mario, right? So it's kind of like, what? And then how would you? It's just, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just, I agree. It's just kind of like, why? Why bother with that? So.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take it and I'd enjoy it probably, but I'd be like, why?
No, yeah, and it's just, if you're gonna give me a Zelda Kingdom, just give me a whole Zelda game. So yeah. However, if they were to do something in Smash Brothers, right, which is literally the game about, you know, crossovers, right? Like maybe they create a new adventure mode in Smash Brothers that like some sort of had like maybe small micro sections of each different like franchise that you could explore in 3D. That could be that would be interesting, right? But not in Mario Odyssey. I agree. Yeah, that's taking my idea a little too far. But we'll see what happens with the DLC. I'm sure there's gonna be DLC. Actually, let's just skip to that topic. There's the Xenoblade 2 Direct, right? So we're starting our news rundown now. So the Xenoblade 2 Direct happened, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't watch the whole thing because I didn't watch the whole thing. One, because I already know I want the game. I don't want to spoil it for myself. I know about the battle system. I know there's all these crazy titans that you can explore that are huge, right? And I know about the Season Pass DLC. And that's basically what I want to talk about Brandon, if you have any extra ideas to bring up about the Direct, we can get into that. But let's just focus on the Season Pass first, though.
Alright.
Like, so it's $29.99, and you're going to get basically content throughout the year. Kind of similar to what we're getting for Breath of the Wild, but it's a little bit more. We're going to get, like, armor and expansions and stuff in the beginning of the year. Then we're going to get, like, an arena mode later on, and then a story DLC after that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. I think it's good. I actually like the Season Pass idea, provided it's something that comes after the fact, right? Because it kind of... So,
yeah.
Like, we're getting Xenoblade now, but throughout the year, we're going to get extra content. So, it actually... Basically, Nintendo's kind of just catching up with the times here. For, like, example... Call of Duty World War II, right? You get the game, which comes with the campaign multiplayer, which is the bulk of the game. But there's also zombies, which is also pretty extensive. Like, I like Call of Duty just for zombies. Like, that's the only thing I really care about. You know, everything else is just like, it's super casual, mainstream garbage. It's not garbage. It's not garbage. It's the same. It's the same every year. But the zombies, they mix it up every 2 years, and I enjoy that a lot. So it's very arcadey, and I like arcade games. So that's, you know.
Yeah.
But like, anyways, they have a season pass. So for Call of Duty, like a lot of other games, there's a $50 season pass, and that's gonna be, they're gonna get like, I think like 5 expansions throughout the year, right? So that makes sense, you know. And other companies do that. That brings in more money to that particular game, but it's something that comes after the fact. It's extra content. They're developing it after the game comes out.
Yeah.
So that's fair to me. That just means more game. You know, so like for example, Breath of the Wild, we would never be getting that additional story DLC if we didn't pay for actual DLC. Well, it's not like it would have come within the game, you know? So I appreciate that, and growing up as a kid, like I've always like, oh, what if they had more stars in Mario 64? Or what if, you know, there was another quest in Ocarina of Time? Like, I would have loved that. And
yeah.
in the modern era, that is actually realistic. So I'm okay with that as long as it's like, I actually am a fan of the season pass structure. So I don't know if I'll get it for Xenoblade. We'll see. I think I will. It depends how much I love the story. If I enjoy the story as much as I enjoyed Xenoblade 1, definitely. As much as Xenoblade X, actually. After Xenoblade X, I was like, oh, I want more. I want more. You know, and I kind of just, by wanting more, I sort of explored the world more than I would have normally. So I think it would have fit for that game, so I imagine I'll want it for this one. But for example, I haven't done it for Fire Emblem or anything. So actually, I haven't done Fire Emblem in a few years. So there's that to consider. It's kind of like, there's been so many Fire Emblem games. It's like sort of been saturated.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not as big of a Fire Emblem fan as others. But you know, yeah. I don't know. What do you think about this season pass, or just the Xenoblade Direct in general? If you have any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'll start off with the season pass. I do have some thoughts on the general Direct itself, but I'll start with the season pass since that's where we started with. But the season pass is very interesting. I think it has a very similar structure to Zelda Breath of the Wild, in that it comes, you know, it gives you those little bonus items to start out with before the main content comes out, and then next it comes out with new quests, much like it did in Zelda, and it comes out with that battle mode, kind of like Trial of the Sword, and then it comes out with, you know, the main story, and it comes out with a couple other things in between. But it kind of follows that main structure of Zelda, and I think this is probably how they're going to do it, like just for these story-based games going onward for the season passes. I think they're going to keep structuring it like that, which makes sense because I really like it. But I've heard some people complain about it being $30 while Zelda's only $20. I don't agree, because I think there's a lot more content here, especially with the story, just because Xenoblade has a way bigger emphasis in story than Zelda ever does. So the story portion is probably going to be a lot longer and meatier than what we're getting with Zelda. Because, I mean, a typical Xenoblade story is like 50 to 100 hours. I mean, I don't think it will be that much in the DLC, but a typical Zelda story is like 20, maybe 30 hours, if you take your time. So, obviously, I think the story...
Not counting Breath of the Wild.
Well, I'm just talking just the story segment. Like,
right.
Not the exploration. Like, just story. And the Zelda's even lower. It's like way lower.
Well,
so
it's hard to really say, because if you literally just do the story parts, like you literally only do the story parts, yeah, it's shorter, but it's not. If you play the game naturally, there's no way you're going to beat the game in 30 hours. You know, like, it's at least going to take you 50, and that's if you play it fast.
Yeah. But still, even so, I think like even just playing a normal Xenoblade Chronicles game, even just casually, like it will take you probably 50 to 100 hours.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more content here than there is
both
in the
both Xenoblade games should take you at least 70 hours, at least.
Xenoblade Chronicles X, I had like 130, and I didn't even 100% the game. I didn't even finish the story.
Yeah. I actually heard an estimate. I don't remember the specifics. Like it's a really rough estimate. They were just basing this off like apparently there was a section, there was a preview in the game, and that was supposedly only like 20% into the game, and apparently it takes you about 40 hours to get there. Right. So basically the estimate suggests that it could take you about 200 hours to beat the game. I imagine it will actually be a little shorter than that, but this is easily, 100 plus hours might be an understatement for this game,
Yeah.
So
yeah, the original Xenoblade, if you knew what you're doing, you could 100% it in about 70 to 100 hours. If you were playing it through normally, it'd probably take you like 130. Xenoblade X, gosh, that game could take you 200 hours to beat easy. And from what I've heard, it was with just doing mainly the story and just a few side quests, it took them 45 hours to get to chapter 4. And there's 10 chapters.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I heard, actually. Yeah. So,
seems like it's going to be a long game.
Yeah.
A long game.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big game. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I will have played Mario Odyssey enough. I will have gotten Doom and played that enough. I will... When does Monster Hunter World come out? Because I'm getting that really soon.
I think it comes out next year, doesn't it?
I think
holiday next year?
No, it's coming out this holiday season.
Is it?
It might be coming out in Japan in December.
Let me look it up.
Yeah. It's coming out soon. Monster Hunter World, not Monster Hunter...
Yeah, Monster Hunter World is for release.
Yeah, we're definitely be talking about some GameCube Soul Calibur. Yo, if you never played Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube,
coming
it's
out
amazing.
January 2018.
Okay, so that gives me a little time. I can play Xenoblade first and then Monster Hunter World. All right, good. Because I have no idea how I would have been able to juggle two mammoth games. I mean, Mario Odyssey is October, but we're well into November, and I'm just yeah.
So they got to play very much.
Yeah, exactly. And Xenoblade's right around the corner at this point.
That's gonna take my life.
Yeah,
it's gonna take over my entire life.
It's gonna take so long. But anyways, this is a very slow news rundown, but that's fine. We're just talking about different topics that are important. Is there anything else you want to say about the Xenoblade Direct? I think it was okay. I think apparently the sales shot up on Amazon after the Direct, so good.
I bought the $100 special edition right after that.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't on Amazon.
All right, interesting.
I will say that this was not the Direct I was hoping for. While it was informational and it was good for hardcore fans that maybe didn't watch like the Gamescom footage and didn't know exactly how the battle system worked.
It wasn't groundbreaking.
It wasn't really. Yeah, the problem was it wasn't that good for people who are new to the series, which is what I wanted the Direct to be. I wanted it to get people hyped who are not familiar with the series, which I don't think it did a very good job of, which is pretty much, in essence, the marketing of this game from Nintendo.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's, yeah, I'm with you there. It's just kind of, I didn't care for it. It's just stuff I kind of seen already. I don't need to see every additional detail, so I already know I want the game. So, but I hope like sales went up for it, so that's good. It's still good that they're showing off the game.
It seems there's hype around it because every time I make a video, it seems to do better than about Xenoblade. It seems to do better than all my other videos for some reason.
Oh,
like when I live streamed my Direct reactions, it got ridiculous, like hundreds of views after the fact, like not watching live. Like
it's
after
hard to say exactly why, but it might just be if it's a reaction video. Reaction videos always get lots of views. But maybe it's just you just like Xenoblade more than everything else, so you make more Xenoblade videos, so you don't realize you actually have more Xenoblade fans than you think. It's possible.
Yeah, maybe.
maybe.
I don't know.
So
It's just kind of pointing out just maybe that is something. I don't know.
So let's get into the Doom reception. So Doom came out. As I mentioned, I haven't gotten it yet. I want to play it. What? What'd you say?
I just said yes. I just said yes.
Oh.
Just reacting to your comment.
Yes. Doom came out. Yes. So, yeah, Doom came out, and the reviews are pretty favorable. I looked it up on Metacritic right before the discussion. It's 79% on Metacritic. But I checked the PS4 version that came out last year, and I think I saw it at 85%. So it's interesting. Now, you know, sometimes games are reviewed. That doesn't mean the game's worse than the PS4 version. It's actually better than when that version came out, because this version has all the DLC. It has this new 6.6 patch for the multiplayer, which makes the multiplayer a lot better. It has an arena mode. So always the PS4 version and Xbox One X version, PC version have those modes now, right? But the game that's out now is a better version than when it came out last year. The only thing that pretty much what they're saying about this game is that, yeah, it's Doom. It plays like Doom. It feels like Doom. And they're saying the 30 FPS for the most part is pretty solid. There are some points where it dips a little bit during hectic fights, but it's not that noticeable. But somehow it still feels pretty fluid. Like the game has motion blur, so it makes it flow really well, and it feels smooth despite it not being at 60 frames per second. But the game looks pretty good, and a lot of times you won't really notice like the difference, even though it definitely does look worse than its competition or its counterparts. It still looks pretty good. And, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, it's one of those things where, like, you won't notice if a game looks worse unless you put it side by side and really look at all the details. Because the game is still pretty. It's just, obviously doesn't have as much graphical snuff when you put it side by side the other games. But when you're actually playing the game, you know these things aren't that noticeable. Which is what I'm kind of saying. Like, the Switch can run pretty much any game just at a lower resolution, less textures, you know, less advanced textures, I should say. And it's fine. It's still gonna look like the same game. It's gonna run this pretty close. So yeah, everything's pretty good about the game. There's no major gripes about the game. It's Doom, and it works. It's just if you really want the highest resolution version, definitely get on the other game systems. However, there is one thing I should say though. You can get it for like $20 on like the PlayStation Store or on Steam. So it's kind of one of those things where like, is it really worth it paying $60 on the Switch? Maybe not. That's the real problem here. I think they probably should have made it like $50 or something. Like just even like a $10 discount would have been nice. Yeah, the portability factor is a big deal, but it's just the other problem is that games just drop in price on the other systems. They just do. You know, Nintendo games don't. Yeah. Nintendo games don't, because for whatever reason they just stay in high demand, and that includes sometimes quality third-party games on Nintendo systems. For whatever reason, that's just the economy or what have you, or the ecosystem of Nintendo's platforms usually. So maybe Doom will drop in price pretty quickly. Who knows? It's hard to say. I don't. What do you think, Bren? Do you think it'll drop in price? Do you think that's kind of a deal breaker?
I think it probably should have been $40 to $50, considering how cheap it is on Steam and on PlayStation. But I think people are still excited enough about it that they're still buying it. I mean, right after it released, it instantly was at number 4 in the eShop, and I think it got higher than that afterwards. But when I checked it was at number 4. So it still sold really well, as far as I can tell, and it's still a great game. Of course, frame drops is not out of the question on any of the versions of Doom unless you have a really high-end PC.
Yeah.
Every console version of Doom has a lot of frame drops, whether that's from 60 to 30 or 30 to below, but they both have a considerable amount of frame drops. So none of the versions on the consoles are completely smooth. I say the Switch does a pretty good job of keeping it there most of the time from what I've seen from like Digital Foundry. And I've seen comparison videos between the Switch version, the Xbox One and PS4, and even the PC version. It's really not that big of a deal. Mostly it holds up as like the same game, just a bit blurrier. It's mostly using almost the same textures. So it looks just like Doom. It's not like, you know, when you'd see the Wii ports of some games, it's just like not even the same thing. So it seems pretty much like the same, just blurrier with a lower frame rate too. And I don't know, I don't think the frame rate's a big of an issue, especially when compared to the Xbox One, because a lot of the times the Xbox One was hovering 30 and between like 45 to 60. It was never hardly ever even hit 60 to begin with. So it's hard to even call the Xbox One version a 60 frames per second experience anyways. So it's just slightly it's just lower resolution and a few frames less most of the time. So if you compare to the Xbox One, it holds up really, really well. The PS4, it's a far stretch from that one in some ways, but it still holds up well. Of course, the PC just demolishes everything, but that's just true about everything. So
yeah, my perspective on it is that it's kind of like the Switch is like the PS2 of this generation in terms of the game.
Yeah.
Like if you go back and you look at like multi-platform game, like for example, Resident Evil 4 on GameCube versus PS2, like you could see the difference. You could tell which game looked better. But when you were just, if you had them side by side, it's very clear which game looks better, right? But when you just play the PS2 game, you know, and you're not looking at side by side comparisons, the game feels and plays just fine. So that's kind of what I think is going to be happening with a lot of Switch ports as we move forward in the future, especially now that Switch is selling really, really well. And this would be a great segue for a topic that I want to get into later on in the discussion, but we're not going to segue into it yet. But basic spoiler, we're going to be talking about the Switch not stock shipments being ramped up next fiscal year, but we'll get into that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so it's just I don't think it's a big deal. But actually, since we're talking about graphics, right, we might as well just talk about some updates on Rocket League.
Yes.
Rocket League apparently I think it's coming out this week or soon, really soon.
Didn't they say it comes out? No, that was LA Noire. Comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's coming out this week though. 720p, you know, that's the resolution, and 60 frames per second when the Switch is docked. And apparently, if I remember the number correctly, it's 576p, 60 frames per second in portable mode. Well, as long as it works, it's still at 60 frames per second. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I think 540p or that range is fine when you're playing it on portable mode. Like, I don't think that's a problem. It's a portable. It's literally a portable, you know? Like, I think the Vita was 540p or something like that anyways. So, not a big deal. I think that's fine. Now, I would wish that the actual... you know, Rocket League's not that big of a game in terms of, like, scope, right? So I would think that maybe a higher resolution would have been possible. However, it was a quick port, and if it is hitting a smooth 60 frames per a smooth 60 FPS, I think that'll be fine. Especially when you consider that Rocket League is a very physics-driven game, and physics is what usually drops frame rate. I mean, just look at Breath of the Wild. That Breath of the Wild has one of the most advanced physics engines we've ever seen in a video game, and frame rate was kind of a problem with that game. I mean, it's not that significant now, but compared to other Nintendo games, the frame rate in Zelda is just terrible. You know?
It is. Usually Nintendo's just that rock-solid frame rate. They're known to be like the king of the frame rate.
Of course, historically speaking, a lot of Zelda games have dropped in frame rate a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, but also, historically speaking, Zelda games have been, you know, the games that have really pushed the boundaries, graphically speaking. So, that kind of makes sense, you know. If you're pushing the boundaries in terms of graphics, frame rate is something that's hard to make consistent. But I bet that the next Zelda game that's hopefully coming out on Switch, which I'm pretty sure it will be running at a locked frame rate, and I'm going to bet that it's going to be at 60 as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at all the big Nintendo games. They're all running at 60 frames per second.
Yeah, so, most of them. Other than Zelda, of course.
Right, but look at... there's precedent here, because Mario, actually, it's the first 3D open world, sandbox Mario game that's running at 60 frames per second. So if it's a first for Mario Odyssey, I imagine that it's going to be a first for Zelda 2 when it's actually made ground up for the Switch. I think that's going to be the new standard for Nintendo with their AAA games. It's going to be 60 frames per second. The thing is, Breath of the Wild stems from older Nintendo. The beginning of its cycle was on the Wii U. So, different hardware.
I am certain the Wii U held back that game tremendously in every aspect. Just the terrible architecture on the Wii U. And
I mean, just imagine how much better Breath of the Wild could have been if it was made for the Switch. You know, like
I'm sure they could have hit.
They didn't even put HD Rumble in Breath of the Wild. They could have done that at least. You know, it could have been a higher resolution. It could have been, or same resolution, right? But 60 frames per second. Imagine Breath of the Wild 60 frames per second, you know?
That'd be great.
So, yeah, there's a lot that they could have done that would have been different. But whatever, the game still is awesome, so I don't mind that much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's one of those things where, like, hardware doesn't make that much of a difference, you know? If the game runs and the frame rate is solid enough, people are going to be able to play it, and they're not going to mind it, you know? So, yeah. Anyways, Rocket League's coming on the system. I think those numbers are pretty good. They did say they're going to try to optimize things, so maybe the resolution will get a little bit better over time. So, yeah. I don't mind. I'm okay with that. I plan on getting Rocket League. I think it's a good party game, so I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's actually get into this report that came from the Wall Street Journal that there will be 30 million Switches shipping next fiscal year. So if I'm rounding up, the Switch is slated to have 17 million units shipped by the end of this fiscal year in March, right? So normally Nintendo fiscal years go from March to March. So by March, the next March, we will have reached the end of this fiscal year, and the next fiscal year will start. So by April 2019, it is expected that there will be about 50 million Switch owners out there.
Yep.
That is crazy. That's literally the second year. 2 years in. 2 years of Switch, 50 million shipped. Now, I'm sure not all of them will sell through, but I imagine that there should at least be 40. I think there's going to be at least 40 actual, real 40 million Switch owners out there. At least. Probably more than that. I have a hard time believing that there'll be just 10 million in the stores. So, probably closer to 50. Hopefully. You know, things can drop off. Maybe people get less excited. Maybe next year the games won't be as good. But if they are ramping up shipments to that degree after Nintendo was so conservative beforehand, that tells me that they're doing it because they have some big sellers coming. And there's actually a couple games in Nintendo's repertoire that are bigger than both Mario and Zelda.
Yes.
The biggest one being Pokemon. Pokemon is a huge system pusher. And normally the next generation of Pokemon comes out by the second-ish year for handheld. That's going to be what for the Switch, right? So if the Switch is then being around close to 50 million by the end of the second year is a lot of units for. That's a lot of units. And that's a good number for Pokemon to launch with. That means Pokemon's probably going to sell at least 10 million copies before the end of the year. If it comes out in November, I can imagine that game selling more than Call of Duty. Like it's going to be, oh my god, like it. Especially if they really advertise console Pokemon game, you know, like an actual home console Pokemon game.
First ever.
Yeah, that's I think at this point that's without a doubt that Pokemon's releasing next year, or else those shipments would not have estimates that high.
No.
But even then, Pokemon itself, that's not necessary. We're talking about 30 million. Yeah. So obviously Zelda and Mario are already there. Mario Kart's already there. But what else? I think that we have to get Smash Brothers and Animal Crossing as well. So yeah, Pokemon is huge, but Animal Crossing and Smash Brothers are also pretty mainstream. So I'm expecting, and everyone's been expecting an Animal Crossing and a Smash Brothers for Switch already, but there's just not enough space for them to come out this year. So
yeah,
I think it's pretty much a given that we're going to see Smash, Animal Crossing, and Pokemon next year. So that's a big year. Those are some mainstream titles, and that's awesome. There's another game that I think has a good chance of coming next year as well, and that's Metroid Prime, but I don't know. We'll get into that later on. But there's actually another game I realized that we know is coming out next year that's also, I forgot how mainstream it's become, but it's Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem became mainstream on the 3DS, so that's another game that will probably bring in a lot of those 3DS owners that have become, you know, the religious Fire Emblem players. They're all going to move over to the Switch once Fire Emblem comes out. So you have Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, and Pokemon probably all coming out next year. Okay, well, if there's any one of those games that's not coming out next year, I would bet Smash Brothers, but I think it's coming. I think it's coming. I'm just, those are 4 huge games, which, yeah, I mean, honestly, if Metroid doesn't come out next year, I'll be disappointed. But still, that's a lot of really big games to come out. I don't know, Brando. Do you think otherwise, or do you think that these 30 million units don't necessarily mean that these big games are coming out next year, or what do you think?
Oh, there's no chance in hell that there's not a bunch of games coming out next year. Also, I'd like to add Pikmin 4. We've known about this game since like forever. That game has to be coming out. There's no way that game's not coming out next year. It just isn't. It's been waiting in the wings for a good time for them to slot it in. I think it's coming out next year.
Unless it's canceled.
Yeah, unless it's canceled, but
or being reworked.
Yeah, even so, I doubt that they will
next year. No, I think
especially
it's
since
coming.
it was almost done in July of 20.
Pikmin's not that big of a franchise, though.
No.
No, what
it still sells relatively well.
No, it's a good game, but I'm just saying that Smash Brothers, they don't need Pikmin, but it would be good to have. So, I don't know. Next year could be even bigger than this year, which is kind of crazy, because this year we got Zelda, Mario Kart, ARMS, Splatoon, Mario, and Xenoblade. Actually, maybe it is possible, because we're just kind of looking at the Switch's lineup, which is between March and December, right? Next year, it's literally a full 12 months. So that's more games that we could reasonably expect. So we could be looking at Fire Emblem, Yoshi, Kirby, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, Pokemon, and maybe Metroid Prime. Yeah. And there's probably going to be something else, too.
Yeah, I'm thinking they might make an HD remake of something. I don't know what it would be. I would kind of hope for some Zelda something Zelda. Maybe Skyward Sword HD, because I feel like that'd be perfect. Just to slot that in there sometime. Be like, hey, more Zelda, here you go.
I think they could wait another year.
Yeah, they could, but I feel like it could come out. I don't know.
I think they could wait another year for a remake for Zelda. I think if anything should get a remake, it's Sunshine. But then maybe they could just do like some sort of DLC thing with Odyssey, where they have a Sunshine Kingdom.
That's what I would think they would do. But then again, they did say they wanted to make a 2D Zelda game and maybe even another 3D Zelda game on the Switch during its lifetime. So
right. So what we could be seeing a 2D. I think if we're gonna see a new Zelda, it's gonna be a 2D Zelda. Yeah.
I don't think they would release a new 2D Zelda game next year, though. I think they would release some kind of.
We're definitely not getting a 3D Zelda. That's for sure.
I think maybe if we were gonna get Zelda next year, I think it'd be a remake.
Do you think Nintendo's gonna try to have a Zelda come out every year? Some form of Zelda every year?
Yeah, they might. It could be a good strategy. Zelda's super popular. I don't know.
I don't know. It's possible. I think I think maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I think it could come out. I don't think it has to come out next year. I think it could come out next year.
I think reasonably they could do a Skyward Sword HD next year. They could. I don't think they have to, but they could do a Skyward Sword HD.
It really wouldn't be hard. It's a lot like Wind Waker. All you need to do is just slap some HD textures on there, put a good lighting system, and bam, you're great. It's like Wind Waker HD had barely anything different. Most of the textures were almost the same thing. They just ran HD.
I guess the problem is that people just didn't like the entire direction of the game. People wanted more of an open world, so I don't know. What if they just literally change it so there wasn't a loading screen between the sky world and the overworld? I don't know. They could do some subtle changes. Maybe they could make it seem more interesting to people. I loved the game. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, I think they could do something like that. I think it'd work. So maybe a Skyward Sword HD next year, to a new 2D Zelda the year after that, and then a new open world Zelda after that. Or maybe that year it'll just be like a spin-off sort of thing, like a Four Swords sort of thing, and then after that we get a big Zelda.
It's gonna be like late.
And since we're getting DLC for Zelda this year, I think people feel okay since we got the DLC, then we get an HD Zelda, then a 2D Zelda, and then some sort of Zelda spin-off, or maybe a real Zelda within the same year as a Zelda spin-off. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah,
We,
I think
we
if they
still
use
haven't gotten to Zelda's DLC, you know, so
if they use an advanced version of the Breath of the Wild engine, I think it could be like Majora's Mask, where it didn't take that long to
well,
make.
I mean, in that case, we should. That's another thing. Like maybe Nintendo doesn't want to do the HD remakes anymore. You know, maybe that Skyward Sword will just be put onto Virtual Console. You know, or maybe the
But I feel
Virtual
like there's a lot
Console
of-
will be special in the sense that it could like upscale different like GameCube and Wii games to HD. You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah.
like legitimate like HD textures, but kind of like what Dolphin does, where like it's slightly enhanced. So they could do something like that.
They
That'd
could,
be awesome.
but I feel like Skyward Sword is one of the games that they could benefit most from the Switch, especially things like HD Rumble would be amazing. And there's just a lot of it wouldn't be that hard because the art style. It's not like Skyward or Twilight Princess, where the art style just aged terribly. They had to make new textures for like everything, and it still didn't look that much different
Yeah.
to most people. Wind Waker HD, literally, they just slapped some better colors on there, slapped a lighting system on there, and gave it a couple new features and shipped it out. Like,
I think the other problem though is that one, they don't need to do it. Okay, they needed HD remakes on the Wii U because the lineup sucked. You know,
It's true.
the lineup sucked, so they literally had HD remakes to sort of give people games to play. So there's that to consider, but also Breath of the Wild has brought in a new Zelda audience. So if you bring out this remake of Zelda that's like a completely different direction for Zelda, like they're literally opposite directions, you know? Like I would say they're more opposite directions than Galaxy and Odyssey, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm just saying you might turn off a lot of new Zelda fans with Skyward Sword HD remake. Just something to
I don't know
consider.
what harm you could do. I don't know what harm you would do. I mean, it would get a lot of the older Zelda fans would enjoy it. So I don't think it would be like, oh, I don't like Zelda anymore because you came out with something different. Like,
Maybe.
I don't think it would harm anything.
Maybe you're right.
Especially
Well, we'll
people,
see.
especially since it's a remake. Nobody's gonna be looking at that and go, oh, that's where you're taking the new
Yeah.
direction of the series now, with this remake.
Maybe I just want a Sunshine remake more than I want a Skyward Sword remake.
Yeah. Well, I want a Skyward Sword remake more than I want a Sunshine remake.
And the other
so
thing is the
it's
Skyward
a matter
Sword's
of
not
opinion.
even that old. It came out in 2011. I mean, if this is
That would
Sony,
be
that's
that would be
more than
7 years.
if this is Sony,
That'd be
that's more than old enough. Just 3 years is good enough for an HD remake. If you have a PlayStation, you know,
Right.
look at Uncharted. So, or better yet, look at Bethesda with Skyrim. That's been had multiple remakes already. Well, ports actually, technically speaking. But actually, Skyrim's coming out this week too, right? Yeah, it is. It's literally coming out on Friday. So that's a lot of
Insane.
different like games. There's just so much games coming out. It's just crazy. It's the holidays, so whatever. But anyways, let's move away from debating HD remake for Skyward Sword. You might be right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's
I
anyone's
think it's
guess
just a
when it
matter
comes to
of-
Nintendo.
Yeah, it's just a matter of opinion.
I'd be interested. Don't get me wrong. I think I agree with you. It's a good fit between the HD Rumble, the motion controls, the portability aspect. We might. Actually, that's a thing though. They might have to come up with a way to play the game without motion controls as well. So that's something. Like they may have motion controls, but they may have to put in a feature where you don't play with motion controls.
They didn't have a right stick on the Wii, so they could use that for the sword pretty easily. Because the right stick wasn't used in Skyward Sword at all, because they didn't have a right stick.
Yeah, they could, but I don't know how good that would be. You know, like Nintendo might like test it out and like, oh, this doesn't feel good, so we're just not going to make the game. That might sound extreme, but I'm just saying it's a hurdle.
Yeah.
So
I don't
we'll see.
feel like it would feel bad at all. I don't know, but I haven't tested it out myself, so it's hard to say.
Anyways, I missed some of Blackstar comments, and now Julius Nunez is here. I do think there's going to be a Smash Bros. And Animal Crossing coming out next year, especially when you look at the amount of Switch units that are suggested they're supposedly going to be shipping next fiscal year. We're going to be at 50 million. It's going to be crazy. The amount of games that the Switch is going to get, it might actually become like the PS2 of this generation. Just have games everywhere. They may all look slightly worse, but when you play it just on that system, you're not looking at side-by-side comparisons. They're going to play just fine, and it's portable. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out something I meant to point out earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
30 million units in the second year is actually about 10 million more units than the Wii shipped in its second year.
Yeah. So here's my perspective on that, though. So, yeah, it's really good, and people might be like, oh my god, the Switch is doing amazing. But what people may be losing sight of is that, you know, Nintendo is used to having 2 different platforms running at the same time. So, you know, like the 3DS Wii U, right? Of course, the Wii U sucked. But the Wii and the DS, for example, the DS sold like 150 million. The Wii sold like 110 million. So, you know, between the both of them, they had 260 million like pieces of hardware that were sold during that generation. With the Switch, it's just gonna be the Switch. So, the Switch needs to sell better than the Wii if Nintendo wants to be, you know, really doing really well. Now, of course, we gotta take a few other things into consideration now. A lot of those people that bought a DS, sometimes they bought multiple DSs. Sometimes they bought multiple Wiis. And those people who bought Wiis also had DSs. So, like, there's a lot of overlap. There's not literally 260 different homes, families, that own, you know, one singular Nintendo system. Most of these families have multiple, literally at least a handful of DSs and Wiis. So, you know, just keep that in mind. But still, yeah, the Switch may be almost on pace to beating out the Wii, right? But just keep in mind that Switch is the combination of Nintendo's home and portable efforts now, supposedly.
True.
So it's not as good as it seems, but it's still really good because, one, the Switch is also selling really well in terms of software. Like, we're hearing about third parties doing really well on the Switch. That's not something you really hear about on Nintendo systems. That's very, very promising. And of course, Nintendo games, they keep on breaking records in terms of sales and pace and such as well. So the Switch is doing really well, and it's selling more games. It may be Nintendo's best-selling home console of all time. So those are all good things. And when you take into consideration Nintendo's now making mobile games on phones, that's going to kind of, you know, make up for what they don't normally make by having 2 different platforms out there, you know. So I think Nintendo is on pace to be doing really well. I'm just saying that, you know, there are differences, though.
Yeah, but there's other things that they can sell you as well. Like, they can sell you extra docks. Apparently, chargers and docks are one of the most highest-selling accessories for the Nintendo Switch. From what I've heard from PR and different things like that. They could come up with a 4K dock and sell you that. Also, the Switch is more expensive than the Wii and the DS. Not combined, obviously, but it's more expensive. The Wii was $250 when it came out. The Switch is $350 more. So this kind of makes up for it a little bit.
And at least Nintendo makes money when they sell a Switch. They didn't make any money when they sold the Wii U. And they didn't make that much money when they sold the 3DS either. They had to do a price cut on that immediately. And I think they had to. They didn't. At first, they weren't selling it at a loss, but then when they had to do the price cut, they were selling it at a loss for a little bit. So the Switch is a much better situation overall when you consider all the different variables. Nintendo has a lot of different ways they're going to be making money now. They're actually going to be taking advantage of their IP, and you know, Nintendo has a Universal contract. There's plans and talks of different movie series. There's some rumors about a Netflix series coming out later on. So, you know, there's stuff. There's definitely, you know, Nintendo's doing a lot of different things. So I think things will be fine, especially if Nintendo finds a way to start creating Pixar-level, like, Nintendo movies. Can you imagine the amount of obscene amounts of money they will make? Like, think of it this way. Look at Marvel.
Absolutely insane.
Look at what Marvel did with the Marvel movies. They figured out a formula, right? And basically that they're just coming out with a half dozen Marvel movies every year, and each one is just destroying the box office. Like, the amount of money Marvel is making is obscene. So if Nintendo can come up with a consistent formula for making quality Nintendo movies, can you imagine how disastrous that would be for everyone else but Nintendo? They would sell...
have a Smash Bros. Movie.
And
you gotta do it the Marvel way. You gotta have individual movies for each game, and then you gotta have the Smash movie, which is where they all come together.
That would be crazy, but that's an interesting idea. And what makes this even more insane, though, is that if you have all these super, super popular movies, what happens? You make the smartphone games super, super popular. And all the smartphone games, which are already super popular, become even more popular. These movies become even more popular. They compound on each other, and guess what they both do? They increase the brand awareness of Nintendo games significantly. So what then happens? Even more Switches are sold. Even more games are bought. And then, you know, it just becomes a scene. Like, think about it this way. There are some... Like, look at Flappy Bird, right? Like, that's a stupid game, right? But imagine some... But that... Not Flappy Bird. What's the game? Angry Birds. Angry Birds is nothing super sophisticated. It's basically just putting skins on a tried and true game concept that's been around for eons, you know? But... that they've been marketing that there's toys, there's a movie, you know, there's cartoons, like there's so much that's done with just Angry Birds. Kids just buy that like crazy, and then with all these toys and movies coming out for Angry Birds, the games become even more popular as well. So imagine that on an even greater level because Nintendo, you know. So there's a huge opportunity here with just using Nintendo IP in movies and smartphone games to really just advertise the games even more and more, so more Switches are bought or whatever is next after that. Just kind of crazy to think how much potential is there, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially, as I said, if they do kind of individual series. It's like Marvel is making all this money because every movie they make goes into their other movies, and they all have crossovers. So you have reasons, even if you don't care about one of their series, you're like, oh, this might appear in the next big Marvel Avengers movie. I'm gonna go watch this character. I'm gonna learn all about this character, and I'm gonna go buy all this stuff about this character who's gonna be in the next Avengers movie. And so it's like you have reason to watch everything because it all ties in. So if they do that with Nintendo, if they have a Smash Brothers game or movie where they all come together and they do things, that makes you want to watch every other movie that comes out if they all work together. And I think that's the genius of the way Marvel's been doing their movies. Is there's characters I did not give a crap about, and then I was like, oh, they're gonna be in the next Avengers. I'm gonna go watch the movie, figure out what's up. And so it's just amazingly brilliant marketing. And it's kind of what Smash Brothers the game has already been doing. So if they do that in movie form,
but the way Smash does it is super insignificant compared to what Marvel does. Yeah. But that's what Nintendo may be doing in the future with their movies, though. Yeah,
I think they should start doing that in Smash games as well.
Yeah. So I think it's time we move on to the next topic because we've been going on for a while and we still haven't gotten to our main topic. So there's one more topic I want to talk about, but we don't even have to focus too much on this. But just since I said we were going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it. Give me at least one really awesome Mario Odyssey moment you've had. I'll tell you mine if you haven't come up with one yet. So, like, I made a video about the impossible jump. I literally had like 2,000 coins, and I lost like all my coins just trying to do that jump. Like, I just jumped and jumped and jumped off the cliff time and time after again, just so I could figure out that jump. And I did. I made the video about it. I literally made a video teaching people how to do the impossible jump in Metro Kingdom. So, yeah, that was it's just kind of interesting how I just spent so much time just trying to do a jump. It wasn't for a moon or coins. It was literally just so I could do something that's just a jump that doesn't acquire anything for me in the game. Just that all I got was the satisfaction of being able to do a crazy jump.
Yeah. My moment is like kind of a spoiler. I don't know. A lot of my favorite moments of the games are like spoiler kingdoms. So I don't know if like you want me to like put a spoiler warning and say it, or
just say it.
Alright, so
you've been warned.
You've been warned. Spoilers.
Go like all my videos and come back.
Right. One of my favorite moments in the game, maybe even my favorite moment of the game of like the entire thing, was the second time Bowser wrecks your Odyssey and you fall into the ruined kingdom, and there's just this giant dragon, and you're like, what the hell, is this even Mario anymore? And you're just like running around this absolutely insanely amazing kingdom. I mean, it's not very long, but it's the scenery is like absolutely incredible looking. And you go and you fight this just absolutely amazing boss fight, and then it's just like, and then you just continue, and you're just like, what the hell happened? What was this? What this is this?
I love that. I love that kingdom and that boss. It's just super epic, and just it was crazy.
The most epic moment of any, like, Galaxy had epic moments. That was more epic than anything.
Yeah, and like once you beat him, he's just like there. You can I think he says he's like, oh, I'm so tired if you try to talk
Yeah.
to him. And if you go back to the beginning of the kingdom, you can actually look at the tower and just see his wings. Like, he's huge. He's huge, you know?
Absolutely massive.
Yeah, definitely super awesome. I'm actually... There's some extra parts to do in that kingdom that I want to go back and do now that you talk about that. Just, yeah. So, there's actually one more thing I want to talk about. Have you spoken to the Sphinx yet?
Yeah, I spoke to the Sphinx in the desert.
You can speak to him multiple times.
Yes.
And he has multiple questions for you to answer.
Mm-hmm.
If you answer enough questions correctly, he will eventually give you a moon. Spoiler.
Yeah. I did that in.
He's actually in multiple locations too. I don't know if you've noticed
he's also in the Wooded Kingdom as well. And I think, he's in the Wooded Kingdom. I know that for sure. I know exactly where he is. In fact, in the Wooded Kingdom.
No, he's not.
He is. I know for a fact he's in the Wooded Kingdom.
Unless our Mario games are different, I don't think so.
You're crazy. I know for a fact. I could
send me a
show
picture.
It to you right now.
Send me a picture.
I'll go look it up.
No, he's not in there.
Unless I am absolutely insane, he's in the Wooded Kingdom.
I don't think he is. I think he's in 4 different kingdoms. Maybe 5.
Yep, I have a picture of it right now.
Okay.
I send it to you. Can I send it to you on Twitter?
You can screen capture, I think.
Oh yeah, I can. Hold on.
If you want to. It might look a little weird on the stream.
Yeah. Right there. Him in the Wooded Kingdom.
That's a lie.
It's lies. It's all lies. I've made that myself in the 5 seconds that I had.
Yeah, you photoshopped it.
I photoshopped it for sure.
You photoshopped it. That's interesting. Huh. I guess I gotta double check now. My entire perception of this is just
your entire world is a lie. The universe is working against you.
Oh, maybe. Oh, I think I know where he might be then.
He's in like the very first part.
I don't remember. I have to check. Maybe I did it like right at the beginning of the game. I don't know. I answered a question he literally asked you like what it kind of relates to different locations you found him in, and the question that it's just the way the question was worded, it doesn't seem like that area would kind of suggest the answer to that. I don't know. It's weird, but I'll go back to it. I'll let you guys know. So yeah. Anyways. There's tons of cool stuff in Mario. We'll probably talk more about that game forever, but let's move on to the rumors. Okay, the juicy stuff. So, I actually have a link here. We're not going to talk about everything from these rumors because there's a lot of different stuff. But I'm going to talk about... Okay, so apparently there's a Resident Evil 2 remake potentially. For the record, this is coming from some guy on Reddit. However, he has leaked previous things beforehand. He's been upvoted significantly. He's trusted by the community. He's gotten a lot of things right. He hasn't gotten everything right, so keep that in mind. But still, the way rumors work, you just gotta take them with a grain of salt. You're getting sources, and sometimes these sources are about games that are in the middle of development. Things change during development, so just because a game is being worked on at one point doesn't mean it's going to come out at the end. There are tons of products that are never announced ever, and they never come out. So a lot of times when we hear rumors, they may be true, but that doesn't mean we'll see the end result. So just keep that in mind. You know, rumors can give us insight as to what may be coming, but sometimes the rumors are just straight up false. Sometimes the rumors are true, but we don't know they're true, right? But it's something that just changes, you know? So we'll get into in a little bit. You'll see what I'm getting at as we go over the rumors here. But let's just talk about this right here. So I'm gonna simply read it from you guys, and then we'll talk about it. So this one's first from Bandai Namco. Actually, I'm gonna skip this part because it's not that important. But basically, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball FighterZ, is being developed for the Switch right now. It's being ported over, and the fact that the Switch has an advanced version of Unreal is making it pretty easy for development to happen on the Nintendo Switch. So let's make a little game out of this. Every rumor that we talk about, Brandon, let's sort of decide how realistic this rumor is. Like, do you give this a do you think this is true, or do you think this is not true? Let's decide on that. And anyone in the comments, if you guys are watching, just say, oh, this is true, this is not true, if you want to. So, what do you think? Do you think Dragon Ball FighterZ is coming, or do you want me to read at length all the details about this rumor? I think it's one of the ones I don't have to talk about, but we could if you want.
This one, I think it's just not even a question. I think this game's coming. I think with the amount of people asking, just in drones, people just in droves, just coming in, just saying, please make this game. We want this game.
Yeah.
And I think it was Bandai Namco who said they wanted to make like 4 different games next year for the Switch or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was them. So
this has to be one of them.
That would make. I mean, there's no way it's not.
Especially after Xenoverse did so well in terms of sales. So
incredibly well.
Yeah.
I'm just begging for this. So
yeah, I just hope that my fear is that it's going to take too long. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't want it to come out literally a year later, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, Wolfenstein is not coming out at the same time as what the others. Wolfenstein's already out. Yeah. Wolfenstein's not going to come out too early next year for the Switch. Now, that's not that bad. It's only like a few months, right? But it's just kind of one of those things where, like, the longer the Switch is out, the less forgiving some people are going to be about how long they have to wait for a game. Like, for example, Doom is coming out a year late on the Switch, but it's the Switch's first year. So, okay, there's some forgiveness to be had there, right? The system literally just came out. But now that we get into the second year of the Switch, if we have to wait till literally holiday season to get Dragon Ball FighterZ, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's still going to sell, don't get me wrong. I just think it would be so much better if they could come out like early next year. I think that'll be fine. We'll see.
I don't know. I don't think that.
I believe the rumor, by the way. Even if this guy's particularly wrong, I believe that Dragon Ball FighterZ is coming. I believe DLC is coming. So it's totally happening. It's just a matter of when, really.
Yeah. I mean, Unreal Engine 4, with just how easy it seems for people to port games over on that engine, I don't think it would take too long, especially since I don't think this game is just the most technically advanced game in the universe. So it's not like they would have all this work to do to get it over on the Switch. I don't think it would be that hard. But I mean, of course, it's going to take work. All ports take work. There's never like a time where the port's just going to be like, oh, it's just, and then it's done. But I don't think it will take that long. I definitely think it won't be too difficult to do, just because, I don't know, the game has a relatively more simple art style, although it looks amazing, especially if you like anime style stuff. It just looks absolutely incredible, but I don't think it has an art style that's just mind-blowingly advanced and, hard to put on the Switch.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's that advanced. I think it's going to look pretty much the same, and it's going to come out, it's going to be fine. That's pretty much it.
That's what I think.
However, it better be 60 frames per second.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's a way that they're not targeting 60 frames per second.
Yeah. Which, if that's the reason the game doesn't come out early, okay. If it doesn't come out early next year, if it comes out, literally, basically a year after the original game comes out, then they better have it come out with all of the DLC,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I want to wait. I might get it for PS4. We'll see.
I think a lot of people are going to get it for both.
That's the thing, right? Like,
they're totally gonna get it for both.
I might double dip. I don't know. We'll see.
Humanity of it all. My wallet.
And I mean, think about it, it'd be such a good game to stream too.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I might end up just getting it on PS4. But then I'll regret it when it comes out on Switch. Like, oh, but I want this again. So we'll see.
That physically, you could trade it back.
I could trade
it a little bit.
Yeah, but I bet that by that point the value will have depreciated. You know. So we'll see what happens. So let's move on to another rumor here. So Soul Calibur VI. All right, so I'm just gonna read this part. So I was told it'll be for PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch. There was no Xbox One version mentioned to me. The game should be revealed by the end of the year and make its 21st anniversary at least. One trustworthy source told me it would be revealed at PSX. If the Switch version is not announced in a matter-of-fact way alongside it, like multi-platforms games do when they're revealed at a specific console's event, I'm reading someone else's shit, so Yeah, it's weird. Then it should be announced during the Nintendo Direct in January that I keep hearing about. So he thinks it's going to happen in January as opposed to December. Okay. The source also told me that the Switch version is different from the one he was told about the game's existence, he might add. He was told that this one would have Link return as a guest character on that version. So that's all that needs to be discussed in terms of this rumor here from this article. So basically, the game is supposedly going to be announced at PSX, right, first. And it's supposedly coming for PlayStation, PC, Switch. No mention of an Xbox One version, which does suggest that there may not be an Xbox One version, right? At least not early on. And that Link will be a returning guest character on the Nintendo Switch version, like back on the Soul Calibur 2 and the GameCube way back when. The good old days, the best Soul Calibur game ever made, one of the best fighting games ever made, had Link, and the best-selling version was on the GameCube, even though it sold less than both the Xbox and the PS2, because it had Link. So, I love Soul Calibur, but the only Soul Calibur game I've ever actually owned is Soul Calibur 2, because I am a Nintendo fan, and there hasn't been a real Soul Calibur game on a Nintendo system since. So, yeah, I really hope this rumor is true. It makes sense. I mean, the Switch is selling really well. Why not? It's about time for a Soul Calibur game to be announced. I buy this. I do.
Yeah. Honestly, I only knew of 1 and 2. When they said 6, I was like, there's more? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I'm not a fan of this series. Although I think I'd probably like it if I went back and played it. I've never played it before. As far as what I think, if this is true or not, I'd imagine if it is true, then I think Link would definitely be in the Nintendo version of it. I think that's just kind of a given.
I mean, they already have a moveset for him. They just have to kind of modify it a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they not having an Xbox One version kind of makes sense-ish.
The Xbox
it's not that hard
is
if it's on the
literally dying.
It is. Pretty much.
Even though they just launched the Xbox One X.
Yeah, the Xbox One X, apparently from what I've heard, it's doing okay. But it just came out, so who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. That could just be Xbox fans buying it, you know. I mean, even the Wii U did well at launch. It sold well at launch, you know. So I feel like launch isn't necessarily that indicative of anything.
Pretty much all consoles do good at launch.
Yeah, at least with the big three. So, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I am. It's one of those things where like, I believe that if there's a Soul Calibur game coming, it's definitely coming to Switch, and that Link would totally be on it. I guess it's just a question of if there is a Soul Calibur game coming on. But apparently, according to this, there's a 21st anniversary is coming up. But then 21st, is that really like something worth celebrating?
Yeah. Apparently, from what I've heard, they were planning on getting it on their 20th, but some kind of development hell happened, so it's being pushed back.
Well, then maybe they'll be good. That's another thing, though. I don't even know if it'll be as good as like Soul Calibur 2. Soul Calibur 2 is literally one of the highest rated games ever made. So I don't know if it'll be great. But it'll probably be at least a good game. At least a good game. So, I don't know. That's exciting to me, at least. The idea of getting a Soul Calibur game that's good. I hope it's good. We'll see what happens. If it has Link, it's just going to automatically be good.
Right.
Gets an extra point just for having Link in it. I mean, it's going to help it sell well, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see what happens.
If they slap Link on the box art of that, it would just...
Right, and then what version of Link do they do?
Right? Yeah, do they do Breath of the Wild? Do they do Ocarina of Time again?
There's so much they could do. I feel like you have to do Breath of the Wild Link, though.
Yeah, I feel like you do.
So then you have... If you do Breath of the Wild Link... If you do that, then that gives you a lot of options, right? Because Soul Calibur gives you a lot of weapons to choose from sometimes, and you can customize your characters. So if you look at all the different things you can do in Breath of the Wild in terms of having different weapons and different clothes, there's so much they could add to Soul Calibur for that. So... We'll see. I think they have a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
They could have skins where it's different links. They could have OOT Link.
They could.
I'd be okay with just having... I don't know. I want both. But I think it would be appropriate to have a Breath of the Wild Link. So
well, I wonder if... I feel like Ocarina of Time Link just... it's kind of an outdated style. I feel like they would do Twilight Princess Link instead, because it's pretty much the same thing, but next-gen version.
I don't know.
At least back then it was.
I actually see OOT Link as his own style Link, honestly. and I would love to see him come back. Like if they had like a true like remaster of Ocarina of Time, then that would be awesome. Yeah, actually, you know, would be really cool if they did a remaster and they just combined Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. But whatever, that's just a fanboy dream. It's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen.
They know what they would do is they would just remaster both and divide them between 2 years and make a hell of a lot more money that way.
Oh yeah.
So,
honestly, Ocarina of Time and Unreal Engine 4, just make that, please. Just I'll put any amount of money. I'll pay $100 for that game if I have to. Like, please, just make it.
Yeah, another idea though would be, what if they simply they completed the trilogy of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like they actually explain what happens after Majora's Mask, you know, that link, and they make it with the Breath of the Wild engine, but they have this style that's like, you know, more of the Ocarina of Time style, or maybe something closer to the Twilight Princess HD demo style, you know.
Oh,
yeah, but of course with the Breath of the Wild engine, like I want that style. Or something similar to that, you know. Like I like the Breath of the Wild style, but I will say, like, for you know, like some of the swords look kind of dull, you know, with the cel shaded look. Like they didn't look like, you know what I mean, right? Like they didn't look like super sharp, and like I want to see.
Yeah.
I just want to see that style. It's not that I don't like the Breath of the Wild style. Like I literally played the game the other day. It just looks amazing. But I would love to see.
There's parts where it looks amazing. There's parts like, what? This kind of looks bad.
It just
there's definitely a section of the game that looks kind of, especially on the Great Plateau.
I think the Great Plateau looks great, actually.
No.
But
I think there's some parts that look like the parts with there's no grass, look absolutely horrendous.
I guess what I want to see is that I want to see, like in Breath of the Wild, everything is just like in ruins. You know, I want to see like actual temples. You know, I want to see actual temples and classic dungeons and stuff. Like I like that's one of the reasons why I really was excited about the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild, because like, oh, this is so cool. It's like, you know, like my ideal version of the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild. Like I want to see more towns, you know, that were kind of like that. Like,
that was my biggest
the town
issue with that game.
In the flashback, right? In the flashback scene where you see Hyrule Castle Town destroyed, like I wish we could actually explore the Castle Town, you know, like a huge city with a whole bunch of NPCs. Like, yeah, I guess
maybe they're doing something like that in the DLC. Maybe there'll be a lot more towns.
Maybe there will be.
Maybe farther in the future than we think, and they'll have done a lot more rebuilding.
Yeah.
And it would be like one of the cool things would be going back and exploring places you've already explored, because there's new settlements and stuff.
Isn't it crazy that I actually want, like, I feel like Breath of the Wild wasn't big enough?
Right. To be honest, my biggest thing is there weren't a lot of civilization, which makes sense with the story, but I think a successor to Breath of the Wild could outdo Breath of the Wild. Because a lot of people are like, how do you outdo Breath of the Wild?
There's so much you can
put a
improve
better
upon.
Story, and you put more towns. That's how you improve
more
Breath of the
towns,
Wild.
like more side quests. Like look at what Skyrim does. Look at what Skyrim or Witcher does. Like those have a lot of villagers, lots of houses and buildings you can go into. Like they all feel like believable cities. Now I'll say this: I think Breath of the Wild made a big jump in terms of having side quests and villagers and multiple towns. They did. It was
that were there were awesome. They just weren't enough.
Right. No, yeah, they made a big jump, you know, and I appreciate that. But I want an even bigger jump next time. And since they have the engine down, it'll be easier just to make a game that has more content, you know.
I want every town to feel like the town of Majora's Mask. That main.
Actually, I'll go even far as to say that I want every town to be better than Majora's Mask. Because here's the thing: there's not that many actual buildings in Majora's Mask. Here's the thing. Okay.
As far as side quests is what I mean, just like side quests and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of side quest content, I totally agree with you. But what I'm getting at is that I have a thing that whenever I'm in a town, I want to be able to see. I want to be able to believe it's a real world. So what that means is that I want to see how they eat. I want to see where they sleep. So what that means is that for however many people live in that village, I want to see at least that many beds, you know?
Yeah.
And Breath of the Wild actually did that.
It did.
they did that, including the Zoras. Like, I was disappointed. It's like the first thing I wanted to know when I got to the Zora domain in Breath of the Wild, I was like, okay, where do the Zoras sleep? And for like a good hour, I was like, oh man, they just got lazy with Zora's domain. There's nowhere they sleep. Until I went to the back, I was like, oh, where are all these holes of water? Why are the Zoras going in there at night? Oh, they sleep in pools of water because they're sort of like fish.
Because they're fish.
And then I was like, okay, right, they did it. Good. Everyone's accounted for. It's fine.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. I don't know. The towns in Zelda Breath of the Wild, personally, every time I went to a new town, it blew me away. Every time I went to a new place, I was just like, this is amazing. This is awesome. It's just that there are so few of them.
Right.
There's not enough times.
For example, like, I saw a development image of Minish people in little Minish houses. Like, that would have been awesome, right? If we actually got a town that was the Minish cap, you know? So that would have been really, and that wouldn't have been that big because it would have been small. But you know, like of course, maybe then you can go get small and be with them or something, or or maybe it's just like a little thing you can see, and you don't really interact with them that much because it's too small to get inside. But you know, maybe that'll be in the DLC.
Have to turn small.
Maybe they'll add that in the DLC. I don't know.
Yeah.
But let's move on with the rumors. So
I don't even know how we got to that topic, but I enjoyed it.
Link.
Yeah, pretty much just Link and anything. It's just like, talk about Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, what's funny is that even though we were talking about Soul Calibur, that's not even the Nintendo section of the rumors here. So let's get into it. Alright, so here he says, there has been pressure towards Game Freak to get Pokemon's 8th generation out in hopes of a release next year, which kind of links up with what we're talking about in terms of the 30 million coming out next year. If you recall Pokemon Stars, that is or was real, but all of it was a Sun or Moon port to the Switch, and it was used as an engine test tech demo. So I agree with this, actually, and like I talked about it when we heard about the Pokemon Stars thing. Like, look, I don't think Eurogamer lied. I think they got an inside source as to something was going on, but it changed. Like, the plans changed, or like they were working on something, they were debating having a port of Sun and Moon, you know, kind of like what Ultra Sun and Moon is, you know, for the Switch, but they ultimately decided it would be better just to focus on having one, you know, special exclusive Pokemon Switch game. So yeah, they probably just used it to kind of test an engine, kind of like what we saw with Wind Waker HD. Like, Wind Waker HD is a test demo sort of for Breath of the Wild, you know. So
yeah,
that's what Pokemon Stars was. It was debated at one point maybe that they were going to have it come out, but they just decided to focus on the 3DS one, the remake, or whatever you want to call the 3DS one, and then just devote all their efforts into making a full-on, ground-up new Pokemon game. So yeah, I actually, even if this guy's just saying it and the rumor's not true, I believe this. I mean, Eurogamer doesn't lie. So why would this is like literally the only thing Eurogamer reported that didn't come true. And like I said, explained with how rumors work, it all makes sense. They reported on something that was happening in the middle of development, things changed, and so it moved on from being a potential game to just kind of like a testing area for what will eventually become the Switch game. So yeah, I believe it. And we already know that Nintendo, according to their, you know, they released a schedule for their games, that Pokemon Switch was TBA, you know, maybe 2017, 2018. They said they're trying to get it out for next year. Yeah. So we know they're trying to do that, and based off what we're hearing now about 30 million Switches being set up to be shipped for the next fiscal year, it all makes sense. Pokemon is the kind of game that would require that many Switches to be sold. So yeah, it all adds up. I would say this rumor is true. Probably true.
I would say it's true that Pokemon's definitely coming out next year. I don't see a reason why not. I mean, as there was also, I think Game Freak themselves said that the Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon wasn't being made by the main developers. So they've been having since Pokemon Ultra Sun or Pokemon Sun and Moon Normal came out to be working on this game. And to be honest, as we discussed before, Game Freak never really pushes the boundaries of graphics or anything like that. So their games don't really take that long to make as far as just graphics and different things. It's mostly just designing the world and designing the Pokemon. So, and they have so many Pokemon, they don't even barely need to design anymore. Just make new versions of the old ones. Just maybe make this a collection of like most of the Pokemon, and then add maybe a couple new ones. It's at this point where they have over 700.
I want to go back to my idea that we talked about in a discussion a few weeks ago, where like I would love it if the next Switch one was, yeah, they don't even need to make that many new Pokemon. Maybe a couple like new legendaries, a few new forms, a few new Mega Evolutions, right? But just kind of go back to Kanto or Johto and just have the adventure be Johto and Kanto fully realized in open world 3D or something close to that, you know? And that's it. You focus, because Kanto and Johto are two regions that are connected to each other, and they can become just one big map, you know? And then you can include some islands like the Sevi Islands, the Orange Islands, maybe, if you want to canonize that season of the anime. And then what's interesting is that there's always the potential for DLC by including another region, because there's so many different regions. So yeah, but I would love it if they were to kind of just go back to Kanto or Johto, and you just have one huge adventure in there, and that would be great. And with the Switch's online features in a bigger game, they could kind of expand upon some of the ideas they had with X and Y and Sun and Moon, how you're constantly connected online. You could like interact with your friends as you play the game. So maybe we'll get. It's not going to be an MMO. Let's not jump the gun here, people. We're not talking about a Pokemon MMO. But if you look at each Pokemon game as it's progressed, the like online interactivity, the connectivity between players and sharing, communicating has grown little by little, which is kind of, sort of, very, very slowly moving towards an MMO. We're very, very far from it, but maybe we'll have a few more steps in the next game. But that's just, my own personal ideas. I don't really know how far
I have some more. Yeah, I'm thinking if they come out with a big 3D kind of almost open world Pokemon game where you go and then you get into battles, and I think the battle system would be normal, but if they just have you running around in this beautiful open space with correctly proportionate Pokemon running behind you, like just going around and fighting battles and taking on gyms in a 3D space, like that would just sell gangbusters.
Yeah,
it would
totally
fly off the shelves. Even with 30 million Switches, it'd be like not enough Switches. It'd be insane.
Yeah, definitely, it would be crazy. Yeah, it'd just be crazy. It would be crazy. Another thing I want to bring up is that actually I would like it if I said this before, but I would love it if they kind of go back to the stadium style of fighting. Like make it more grandiose and epic, the fights. I would love that. Maybe even include like a multiplayer mode where you can have rentals. That way you could play with your friends on your Switch and stuff. And like the rental mode on Pokemon Stadium was great, so I'd love if they could find a way to implement that as well. That would be awesome, and it'd be so smart. People would love it. Like there are people. Here's the thing about Pokemon: like you buy one copy and it's just for one person. But if you include the Stadium mode, then that opens up a whole bunch of stuff. Like you could even, hey, if Nintendo's like, oh, is it worth the money? I don't know, but just throw in microtransactions, get in more rentals. I don't care. Like as long as there's a Stadium mode inside Pokemon, I will be so down for that. I hardcore want a Stadium mode. I would love that so much. So
amazing. Stadium is the Pokemon game I've played the most.
Yeah, and if you could even throw in mini games, bro, it would be it could become such a great party game. There's so much potential. Either because we haven't gotten a real Pokemon Stadium game since Pokemon Stadium 2. Like, I would love for them to make a new Pokemon Stadium game. Or at least just kind of put Stadium within Pokemon. I would, So, I don't know, but maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah, my fear is that the game's going to be announced and it's just going to be like...
Ultra Sun and Moon
Ultra Sun and Moon HD. It's going to be like, that it follows the same formula as the other games. That would kind of suck. I mean, it'd be okay. It'd still sell really well because it's the first Pokemon game on consoles and it's handheld. But I mean, there's so much more they can do with Pokemon that it's on an actual HD system. There's so much you can do to expand what Pokemon already is.
We'll see, but you're right. I don't know. So let's kind of run down the rest of the rumors here and end the discussion. So Metroid Prime 4 should have something revealed with some in-game footage early next year from what I've heard. I'm hearing that Direct in January particularly. Bandai Namco is developing the game for Nintendo. I don't know which development studio. So, I don't understand the entire infrastructure for Bandai Namco. And Bandai Namco has done a good job with some recent Nintendo games. Like, they did Smash. I think they did good with that. What else did they do? Do you know, Brandon? They've helped develop some recent Nintendo games. Yeah, I don't know either. I know there's something else. I just don't know what.
There is something, I just don't remember what it is.
Right, like Bandai Namco totally. I'm literally on Google.
They totally did something recently, and it was kind of a big deal, but I don't remember what it was.
Xenoverse.
Was it?
I mean, Xenoverse is there. I don't know.
Yeah, but
whatever it is,
else.
We'll look into it later. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know how true I even want this to be.
That's the thing. I don't want Bandai Namco to do it. I mean, Nintendo already told us it was an in-house developer. I thought EAD was working on this, but then I had an idea though. I had an idea. We've always talked about how Metroid is, back in the day when Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 1, and Halo 1, 2, there's always a conversation about multiplayer in Metroid and then focusing on single player and stuff like that. What if EAD is working on the single player for Metroid Prime, and Bandai Namco, who has a lot of experience with online multiplayer games like Smash Brothers, like Dragon Ball, like a whole bunch of other stuff like that, what if they're doing the multiplayer?
That's something I didn't think about, but that would be actually really, really good.
It'd be amazing, right? It would just be
like awesome.
This would be huge. It would be huge.
Yeah.
It would be then we'd be talking about a huge freaking game,
yeah.
So I'd love to see it. Will it happen? I don't know. Now, here's the thing. I have been hearing some recent rumors about Metroid Prime, and I think if Metroid Prime is coming out this year, not this year, if Metroid Prime is going to make it out by the end of 2018, we will definitely see it in the January or December Direct. Like this rumor from Reddit is suggesting January, and January has been the month a few times. I mean, when the Directs first started, it was January, the big Direct, but the couple times we've had it in December. So I don't know. I could see January, especially since Xenoblade's coming out in December. Like there's been such a big year in terms of games, like, and then there's the DLC for Zelda's coming out. Like, I think there's definitely they don't need to have a Direct in December. Like before, during the Wii U era, you would have a Direct when you didn't have a game because there was nothing for Nintendo fans to get excited about. It's
true.
Nintendo like, oh my god. Like, we need to do something for them. Let's just do a Direct because there's no games. So I could see maybe January is actually what's going to happen now. So okay, maybe January. So I think if Metroid's actually coming, it's going to be in January. I think it's believable. I think it's just a question of will it be there. If what I'm suggesting is true, though, that EAD, as Nintendo's already told us that EAD is working on Metroid Prime, so this rumor kind of goes against that, unless EAD is doing single player, Bandai Namco is doing multiplayer, right? Which is what is speeding up the development process of the game, which is allowing it to actually make it out this year. And if that is the case, well, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, next year, next fiscal year, 2018. If that is the case, then, and the idea that I will get to see Metroid Prime in action this January is super, super stimulating.
Oh, yeah.
So, is this rumor true? I'm going to say 50-50. I want it to be true, but I don't know if it's true. Because all of the information we've heard about Metroid Prime maybe being seen in January is all rumor-based. There's no indication by Nintendo of that. The only hope I have, though, is this. Excluding Zelda, Nintendo has... because Zelda, the Breath of the Wild, keep in mind, is from an older Nintendo. The development cycle was super long. Not counting Zelda, Nintendo has not been showing off games unless they're coming out within a year. For example, Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey is one of the biggest Nintendo games Nintendo has ever made. It is no small game by any stretch of the imagination. It is a huge game. So there's no way that Nintendo made this game, started development for this game last year, announced it in January, and then came out with it in October. That didn't happen. This game's been in the works for a while, but Nintendo announced it in January. So, and then they showed it and they released it in October. So what I'm thinking is this is simply the new style of Nintendo where they will announce and reveal a game within a year or so. So what does that mean? I think that means that if Metroid Prime, if they're willing to actually show us something for Metroid Prime at E3, that that means that the game is closer on than we expect.
Yeah, I guess. But then again, they did say that they were almost forced to show it then. They did kind of hint the fact that they weren't completely wanting to show it then, and a lot of it was because of Samus Returns that they showed it. They
didn't want there to be backlash. They want Samus Returns to sell well. So there's that to consider. That is true. So we don't know. It's true that maybe they did it for that. But at the same time, though, I think it's also should be noted. That's all right, Totsme. It's cool. But it should be noted, though, right, that Nintendo didn't need to show off Metroid, though. Like, it's not like they always like, oh, we don't have enough games to show off this year. That's not true at all. So they could have gone away without talking about Metroid, but they did talk about Metroid a little bit. So it's hard to say. It really is.
I think if they showed off this January Direct, it's coming 2018. If they don't, it's probably 2019.
We're both in agreement here. I think if they show it off in January, it's coming out this year. So everyone who's debating if it's really going to come or not, or just chooses not to be hopeful, January. If we don't see Metroid Prime in January, I don't think it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Well,
it's 2018.
I mean.
If they don't show it in January, they're not going to release it that year because there's no way they're going to show it off at E3 and then release it in the holiday.
Yo, but what if I'm right about the band? If this rumor is true,
gosh, that'd be amazing.
I believe that Bandai Namco will be working on the multiplayer and EAD is working on the single player.
Do you think that they would? What kind of style do you think they would go for the multiplayer? Do you think it'd be like kind of maybe a Halo kind of thing, or more like maybe even a Star Fox-ish kind of thing? I think they could do some elements from that game.
I think it would be smarter to kind of look at what all the popular shooters are doing now. Because here's the thing, right? Look what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild. They kind of remade Zelda in a way that allowed it to be more mainstream. That doesn't mean they took away from the vision of Zelda and made it less bad. They made it bad. No. But they looked at elements of Zelda. They looked at elements of Mario. And look at Splatoon as well, right? They're marketing... It seems like they're designing their games in a way that is appealing to a large audience, but not in like, oh, we're copying out and not making as cool of a game sort of way. Just like looking at what some popular games out there are doing and incorporating that but putting the Nintendo spin. So what I'm getting at here is that maybe Nintendo's paying attention to the Titanfalls, the Call of Duties, the Battlefields, the Halos, and they were like, okay, look, Metroid's not selling as well as we want to, but we know it has the potential. So what if we kind of... They're also probably looking at Bioshock and as well. So maybe, they have that single player that's still, like the quality Metroid Prime we've been getting. But maybe whatever you do in that single player can have positive effects on your multiplayer. But the multiplayer is something more along the lines of Battlefield, Halo, and Call of Duty, where you have like a class that can expand and grow, and there's the multiplayer in and of itself could be its own game. And if they do that, I think it could attract a lot of people to the game. So, and then Metroid Prime could sell really well. And that's the thing. The only reason that they need multiplayer Metroid Prime is because it would help it sell really, really well. So maybe that's what's going on here. You know, so
it's really hard to say.
And then you know what? The other possibility is that EAD isn't working on it, or that Bandai Namco isn't working on it, and they're just focusing on making one huge single multiplayer game. And that's fine. I mean, not multiplayer, just one single player game, and that's it. I mean, either way, I have hope that they're going to do a good job with this, so we'll see what they do. Yeah. But I like the idea of having like a 30, 40 hour single player campaign. It doesn't have to be as long as Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild, right? But just a quality 30, 40 hour, Metroid Prime campaign, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
have a pretty fleshed out multiplayer as well. That'd be great.
Oh,
So
gosh, I'm not gonna get my hopes up for multiplayer just because that sounds too amazing to
I
be
don't
true.
I don't need there to be like 12 maps. I'd be okay with 4,
Yeah.
6 quality maps
Oh
and
yeah,
an
any
amazing
kind of
single player.
multiplayer. For,
Especially if we have like a season pass for Metroid where you can just release more maps afterwards, you know? It's fine. And even like a side, oh, but imagine that if they had a season pass for Metroid Prime. It's like, oh, side mission. There's a distress beacon call at this like area, you know? You just go to like a space pirate homeworld or something, just add like another little planet. That'd be cool, you know? It's so easy to do.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, in terms of story, it'd be easy
I
to
definitely
do.
think I don't think there's any way that Metroid's not getting a season pass as well.
Well, we'll see. Mario Odyssey hasn't got any DLC announcements yet, so Mario Odyssey might not have any DLC.
True.
I hope so.
I don't know.
But just consider this: Xenoblade hasn't come out yet, and we already know DLC is coming for that. But Odyssey has not got any DLC announcements. And we knew that DLC was coming for ARMS before it came out. We knew that DLC was coming out for Splatoon before it came out, and we knew that DLC was coming for Breath of the Wild before it came out. But we did not get any DLC announcements for Mario Odyssey. Nor did we get any for Mario Kart. So, it saddens me to say that after I think about it logically, the odds are we will not be getting DLC for Mario Odyssey. Or maybe they're just holding out on it because they don't think it's needed right now. Because they didn't
it could just
decide
be
on
that those are
pass.
coming out much later. The DLC's coming out much later than for the other games. Like maybe it'll be 2019 DLC or something. Because the other ones that came out...
We'll know for sure in January. If Nintendo doesn't show off DLC for Mario Odyssey in January, then we know there's no DLC coming for Mario Odyssey, I would say.
I don't know. I think they could announce it at E3.
They could be like Super Luigi Odyssey. Yeah, maybe. You're right.
Maybe it's because it's coming in 2019. It's going to be...
Well, then at that point, why even be DLC? Just be a new game. You know?
I don't know that the DLC... At that point, then wouldn't you push it back to 2020 and make it a new game, I guess?
Well, 2 years is enough for a Mario game. Look at Galaxy. Actually, Galaxy was...
True.
Yeah, Galaxy.
But I feel like...
Yeah, 07 and 09, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I feel like Galaxy felt a lot like Galaxy 1. And like a lot of the levels in Galaxy aren't really that as distinguishable as the ones in like Mario Odyssey. So I feel like they're kind of just reskins of each other over and over again. Everything feels very similar and easy to just slap on.
I'm not sure if I agree with you, but I mean, who knows? It's hard to say. But maybe you're right. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that if we've gotten DLC announcements for all the other major Nintendo games that were coming out this year before they even came out, and we haven't gotten one for Odyssey, so I don't know if there is DLC coming. It's not anytime soon. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
So let's finish off with the rumors here and just call it a night. And I want to run through these. So there's a rumor here about there's some kind of Animal Crossing. Yeah, okay, we agree. Animal Crossing. Okay,
that's happening.
Yeah. The Switch's virtual console will not be like how it is currently known to be like. There's some kind of subscription service of sorts in the works. I see that happening as well. I think
I prefer that, honestly.
I think the truth is that we haven't heard about virtual console yet for a reason. And that's because if it is coming, there's going to be substantial changes. So maybe some sort of subscription service. Maybe they're going to connect that with the Nintendo Online service to make it more worth it. Maybe the virtual console games will get an HD upscaling. Fingers crossed.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, which is another reason why I think that maybe there won't be any more HD remakes. But who knows? We'll see. Mother 3 is real. Okay, sure. So are aliens. If you think about that, if you know what Mother's about, it's about aliens.
It's about aliens.
So, I think Mother 3 is real as well, actually. I just think it's, for whatever reason, they haven't announced it. He's talking about that just, I don't know, maybe, I theorize that maybe they're working on a whole other game, but I don't know. I'm gonna put a 50-50 on this one as well. I think it's one of those things where, like, yeah, maybe Mother 3 is actually real, but maybe they're not going to come out with it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It could just be that they were like, we don't want to put Mother 3 on the Wii U.
It might just be like because they wanted it for Virtual Console.
Yeah.
And then Virtual Console's been delayed. So maybe Mother 3 hasn't been announced because Virtual Console hasn't been announced. And like
I think
you said,
the reason
it didn't
there's
come out
been
on
so many
Wii because it
rumors
failed.
is they were making it. It was going to come out late in the Wii U's lifetime. The Wii U did absolutely terrible. They were going to move it over to the Switch. Oh, wait, Virtual Console's not quite ready. We want to push it back and have it as the big, gigantic, pay-for-this-service game.
I totally agree. Yeah, that's what I think it is. I mean, I thought that for a while.
There's no way it's not true. I mean, like, every reputable source seems to be reporting at some point that Mother 3 is a thing. And every time they're just like, nope, didn't happen. It's like, where is it? It's got to be like slipping through the rumor grates. Just keep going on by.
So 2 more rumors, and then we gotta call it a night. I've been yawning for the last half hour. I need to start like 15-20 minutes earlier. So, but anyways, here we go. According to one of my sources, not my sources, this guy's sources, they claim that Square Enix is doing The World Ends With You 2 exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. I guess that would be huge. With the amount of systems that Switch is selling, I could see some serious exclusives coming to the Switch. And apparently Blizzard is preparing a Hearthstone port for the Switch as well. That would be huge. I mean, you know, it's a popular game. It would do well on the Switch. So yeah, there's a lot of rumors there. I think kind of going back to the Mother 3 thing, I think, you know, it's because a Virtual Console's been delayed, but they'll use it to sort of, you know, sell that off. I think Metroid Prime, if they show it off in January, it's coming. I love my idea about Bandai Namco making an extensive multiplayer and EAD working an extensive single player and combining it to one game. We'll see if that happens. And then Pokemon, I mean, I talked about some ideas for it. We talked about some ideas for it. But knowing Game Freak, I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's going to be good, but it's not going to be as good as we want it to be. It never will be, because we always want the Pokemon MMO, but that's never going to... It may happen someday, but it's going to be a long time from now. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, Tatsumi Kimishima. I haven't looked into the sales for Metroid Samus Returns, but it has... I don't know. I heard people say no one's really talked about it's selling really well, so we'll see. It just kind of goes to show you that Nintendo does need to do something about Metroid. They have this beautiful IP. I think they need to find a way to really make it sell well. Perhaps having Bandai Namco making an extensive multiplayer that takes ideas from Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Titanfall might not be such a bad idea. Or Overwatch. Overwatch is probably a better like shooter to kind of, you know, think, you know, like take ideas from, because Overwatch I think will fit more into that, like a good multiplayer for Metroid and Titanfall for sure. So yeah. Anyways, guys, that's the discussion. Brandon, do you have any final thoughts?
Just rumors are just they're incredible. They change all the time. They're very fluid. There's nothing is set in stone until it's out or announced.
Exactly.
So even if this isn't all true, or even if this isn't all come to pass, it doesn't mean that it's not all true right now. And it doesn't, and we don't know how true this guy is. I mean, he got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right about MVC Infinite, or was it with the other one? I think it was a different fighting game, but they got it true about that. So I mean, they got some credibility, but they don't have a long reputation. But I don't know.
Just look at it this way. It's like when you hear a rumor, it's potential insight into the development cycle. And because it's in the development cycle, there's fluctuation, there's change. It's fluid, like you said, Brandon. So, yeah, keep it with a grain of salt. Who knows if it's real or not, and even if it is, if it's actually going to happen. So, yeah, guys. Anyways, a lot to talk about, some interesting stuff. If you have any sort of predictions or thoughts on these rumors or whatever's happening, let me know in the comments below. If you have any ideas or topics, check out our Patreon pages, and then we'll be more willing to you know, actually do those topics because you're paying us. No, but seriously though, you know, just let me know. We'll see what we can do. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Hope you had enjoyed the discussion. And I'm good. Bye.
Bye, guys.